put all of this shame and guilt on women, and as I'm unpacking that in myself, I have to find myself asking, what did I do besides fall in love?
Hey beautiful people, how you all doing today? It's your girl Destiny here and welcome back to my channel. How you all doing? Hope you guys are doing great. So today's video, it is an amazing conversation, guys. Like, I went on a full rant on this video, but come on, let's talk. So today's video is a video of a woman who came online to talk about how women that have been in bad relationship, women that have kids in relationship, are being mocked, are being laughed at, and they feel guilty for being in relationship where the only crime they committed was them being in love and being in a relationship. But now society, especially women that are going in the preach of dissenter men, are like, you know what, making them feel guilty for falling in love and choosing men and being in relationship. And this has struck a conversation because she said that this whole conversation started off with her asking her mom that she doesn't know why she feels guilty at all being in a relationship that did not work and even having a child in the relationship. And she said that it stems from women that are telling other women to dissenter men. And this has struck a bigger conversation that has gotten a lot of people calling out people that create content like I do, saying that, you know what, women that are telling women to dissenter men are trying to they're trying to take women away from men, and that is not sustainable. Like, it's a whole big conversation, and your girl went on a rant. Okay, so let's go check out what the sister have to say, and then I'll come back and share more of my thoughts. But please, I want to know your own thought on what she said down in the comment section, and generally your entire thought about decentering men and content creators that are pushing this narrative so hard. Love to know your take on this. But before we get into this video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? We post videos every day where we have amazing conversations. So go ahead and subscribe to this channel, okay? And click the notification bell. With that all said, guys, let's go check out this video.
I was telling my mom the other day that I felt a lot of shame and embarrassment for being in my last relationship for as long as I was and getting pregnant and some of this other stuff. And she asked me why that was, and I couldn't really figure out why. And as I was floundering to find the words, she was like, "You loved him, right?" I was like, "Of course." She was like, "You meant every single thing that you said." And I was like, "Of course." And she was like, "So what's your crime? What did you do that's so bad that you should feel so much shame and guilt and embarrassment?" And it really put this in perspective for me. Because she's right. Like, maybe I loved too hard. Maybe I tried too hard. Maybe I tried for too long. But at the end of the day, my biggest crime is that I fell in love and I meant what I said and I really, really worked for it to work out. And it just didn't. And I think about this a lot as I see this increase in content that like crucifies women for staying in these like less than ideal relationships with guys who just suck. And I'm not talking like are awful human beings and put them in harmful situations. I'm just saying like Bradley, who just isn't all that great. And it's like, okay, girl, you knew he wasn't that great and you stayed. Yeah, dude, she fell in love and she's trying her best and it isn't working out, or it didn't work out. And yet there's so much shame and guilt and stigma associated with that, as if women are supposed to be this like perfect, infallible creature who has all the self-esteem and self-worth in the world and leaves right away and can break her own heart and all this other stuff that's just completely unrealistic. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that, you know, it doesn't take two to tango and that women are perfect beings who never make a mistake, and when a relationship falls apart, it's all a man's fault and blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, you know, as we put all of this shame and guilt on women, and as I'm unpacking that in myself, I have to find myself asking, what did I do besides fall in love? And why is that such a bad thing? Why does that mean I am not worthy of grace and care and support anymore because I tried my best? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, as we shift towards a culture that does encourage women to prioritize themselves and their well-being and not their relationships, I don't think that should come in exchange of shaming people for falling in love and for trying in their relationships. If the worst thing you did is fall in love and try and it didn't work out, you tried, and that's nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about. And that made me feel a little bit better, so maybe it'll make one of you feel a little bit better.
Okay, I'd love to know your thought about what she said down in the comment section, because this struck a couple of conversations, and some of the things the ladies that stitch, or the people that stitched this video were talking about. I'm just like, okay, we all need to hear this. For me personally, I agree with some of the things she's saying, but I disagree with some of the things she's saying. And I'm going to share my own opinion down later on after hearing other people's thoughts. I'll share my own opinion. But I want to know what you think about this down in the comment section. But please keep it respectful as always. Okay? So let's go check it out. But before we go, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? We post video every day and we'll have amazing conversation. Yeah, this is a safe space to air your opinion and not be insulted and all that. So welcome and subscribe to this channel. Anyway, with that all said, guys, let's go check out what people think about this video, their response to this, and then I'll come back and share more of my thoughts. But go share yours down in the comment section.
I was telling my mom the other day that I felt a lot of shame and embarrassment for being in my last relationship for...
Okay, sorry everybody, I just woke up. Please go back and watch the entire video, and if you're asking why I sound groggy, that's why. What is it with you guys thinking that you're being feminist when you're being very misogynistic to women that you think have not saved themselves from things that are larger symptoms of like patriarchy and misogyny? Because the amount of people projecting entire narratives onto this creator, which I 100% believe are motivated by colorism and the fact that she's like pregnant, and using that as a way to be cruel, using the whole you're male obsessed, you need to decenter men, you're just using single women as a way to be cruel and misogynistic yourselves is very weird. You guys are completely misinterpreting what she's saying, and she's like, this relationship didn't work out and I don't want to feel shame. That I feel like is not the same as the whole decenter men conversation. We don't know what happened in her relationship. We don't know how her relationships with her female friends are. And seeing this be done, especially by older women who I know have not always had this decenter men outlook, is weird. It's very easy to say this will never happen to me, this should have never happened, when you are outside of that situation. And not to say that every single thing can happen to everyone, but it's just to say that y'all are like manipulating feminist ideals, very broad, watered down feminism, I doubt any of y'all have read, as a way to be cruel to other women who have not ascended to that level of enlightenedness, and making it seem like you're doing it on behalf of female friends, single friends who just get used by women in relationships. Please get off your high horse. Because for like all yesterday, just attacking this woman, going back and forth with her, it's insane.
Increasing content that like crucifies women for staying in these like less than ideal
I have to say that because of what this creator is talking about, how when women come on here and they talk about their relationships that they're in, where they're with guys that aren't treating them the best, or their husband or their partner is doing something that's uncaring or unloving, and how people kind of just tell them you should leave him. And if you don't do it, if you stay in the relationship or you want the relationship to work, or because you love him, that, you know, you're stupid and you get shamed and made feel guilty for that. And I do get what she's saying, because I am someone who's in a long-term marriage that is not great. Not with someone who's abusive or anything like that, but a relationship where I don't feel like I'm being treated the way I would like to be treated, and I don't feel loved or cared for. And I do see content on here that seems to me, you know, we're talking about things like decentering men, and women should be, you know, more independent and make better decisions for themselves, and they shouldn't make, you know, a man the center of their life, etc. And on one hand, for me, that content actually has helped me. And there are also times when that content has made me feel kind of guilty and ashamed of myself. Like, I do ask myself, like, why are you staying in this situation? You should be able to do better. What is wrong with you that you can't strike out on your own or whatever? But the content has also done something kind of good for me, where it's made me think a little bit more about the situation, not so much from the marriage perspective and fixing the marriage, but more about going internally within myself and trying to look within me and asking myself those questions. Why are you in this situation? Why did you ignore these red flags? Why did you think that this was the best thing for you? I mean, those are actually really hard questions to ask yourself, because a lot of times you may know the answer, or you may not know that, or you may have an inkling about what the answer is. I've been in intense therapy for the last 4 months where I'm actually asking myself those questions for the first time. And what's happening is actually what I was always afraid of, is I'm actually getting the answer to it. And the answer is the reason why I'm staying in this situation, or I've been in these kinds of situations with men, is because I don't like myself. I don't love myself. I don't care about myself. I'm not a priority in my own mind at all. And loving this person, because I said the same thing. Oh, all I did was love him. I just invested and tried so hard. Saying those things to myself and thinking that way was a way for me to kind of put all of this on the relationship and on him and take it away from myself, because I don't want to think about myself. I don't want to be accountable to myself. I don't want to ask those questions to myself, because if I did, the answer that I would come up with is the answer that I have, which is I don't like myself. And that's a really hard revelation to make. It is terrible to realize that that's the truth, that you don't like yourself, because you have to admit, why is that the case? And that takes you to a really, really painful, difficult place that has absolutely nothing even to do with my marriage or my relationship.
Yep.
It has to do with really more deeper, painful things. And so I'm kind of on the fence, because I don't know if I would have gotten to this place where I'm at if not for a lot of this content that I see on TikTok, like about decentering men and all these things that I've learned. I don't know if I would have gotten to that point, because for me, being able to decenter a man when men have really been the focus of my entire adult life means that now I'm going to have to I have to focus on myself. I have to work on myself. I have to ask myself questions, and I don't want to do that. I don't even know how to do it, to be honest. But that is what I'm learning in therapy. And that is what I'm learning about myself. So while I do feel some guilt about where I've gotten to, the guilt that I'm here, I do feel empowered more. And it is because of this content, because I feel like now I know what I have to do about it. And it's not so much focused on another person who I can't do anything about. It's focused on me, which I actually can do something about. I don't think guilt and shame is a motivator, and that's not why I've been motivated to get the help that I'm getting. I don't think it's a motivator. I don't think it's a positive thing, but I do think getting women to start taking focus off of men and putting it back into themselves, investing in themselves mentally and emotionally, and really doing that work. I think that is so important. That's really, I feel like, how you love yourself, how you are able to liberate yourself, and how you're able to get yourselves either out of or avoid these really harmful and difficult relationships.
Change of shaming people for falling in love and for trying in their relationships.
I'm glad this video came across my FYP, and what Jordan is discussing here feels very similarly to what my mutual Alexia was discussing recently that y'all dragged her for, even though she was right. Because what Jordan is discussing about the shame and embarrassment that is imposed on women who actively try to make partnership with men work out, and what Alexia was discussing about how telling single women who are seeking partnership to decenter men is not a comparable placeholder for active partnership, lives to me in the world that I have just called companionship nihilism, which is the belief and framework that intimate, romantic, equitable partnership with men is impossible and thus not worth seeking out. And for those who do seek it out, when it inevitably fails, it's ultimately because of their own naivety. It makes me think of something like the 4B movement in South Korea. And as I observe these conversations happening in the mainstream, in these smaller spaces, I'm constantly pondering on what it would mean to imagine equitable partnership with men if that's the only group you were attracted to. And I feel like the bones, which is decenter men, as in don't make men the axis or fulcrum of your life, which I agree with, has been lost to a much more rabid haze of forcibly cast them out entirely because they're irreparably damaged, which is that icky bioessentialism and biodeterminism that has been rearing its head in the last few years, especially in feminist spaces, but is being framed much more strategically than it was in second wave feminism when all of their, rabid heroes were popping around with that ideology. Community can be contradictory because human nature is contradictory, and that's something that is never held in its fullest weight in these conversations. I say this as someone who is queer and non-monogamous. I am solo polyam, so even when I am partnered, I am single, just to keep things simple. And because I date any gender, I'm rated E for everyone, as I say, I get to watch this both inside of hetero dating and outside of it, because I think in these conversations it's often lost that yearning is a universal feeling. It is not exclusive to any particular gender. This idea that women are the only ones feeling the angst of these kinds of shifts is, to me, the naivety, truly. And when we imagine communities that hold all members to account, that make all members feel supported and loved and involved in the way that they want to be, I do imagine that with men there. They're just not the gateway to your ability to access community. I think a healthy way of looking at romantic partnership with men would be similar to a solar system, as opposed to your man being your sun, the thing that all the planets rotate around. He would be like an outer ring on a planet, or an asteroid that gravitates around the moon, something that is attached to you, but it is not what you live for, what you require to function. But I don't feel like that's what's being communicated here. And I think that this conversation of decentering men, of choosing better men, falls really easily down this pipeline of victim blaming, of almost this social gaslighting that tells people that things they've seen happen for others is impossible for them, and so they shouldn't even seek it out. I don't know. I just feel like it's really counterproductive to tell people who are seeking partnerships the right way, who want to be with people who love them, who are romantic, who are intimate, that it's a child's dream. I don't know. How is that useful? How is that useful? And how is telling someone who has all the self-love, all the friendships, all the partnerships in other ways, all the fullness, that this thing that they truly feel void of because they seek it, because they want it, they shouldn't feel these things, that these things wouldn't feel this way if they loved themselves, if they understood how men worked, if they wanted a better world. I just think that forcible removal of your desire to be romantically partnered is the least imaginative way of building a better world. Because where then are the examples of that healthy partnership? You want something that is not here. How are you building those examples in the minutia? This is why I said these conversations around capitalism are always very vapid, because love is one of the things you can't buy, but they can make you buy an avenue at which to access it, which is why these dating app conversations come up so frequently. But we have history. We don't have to imagine how to try to seek partnership without the apps. We know it's possible because it happened. If you think romantic partnership with men would ever be possible, wouldn't you want to be in one of them now? Wouldn't you want to be proof that it can happen? And if you don't think it can happen, what are women who are only attracted to men to do? Women whose full, beautiful, glorious life does not only include friends and family and Pilates and hobbies. Women who've always imagined having a spouse, having children with that spouse, building a larger family. How is it useful for them when they are upset and crying about their so far inability to find these connections, for you to say, that's because it can never happen, babe. Love yourself more. Decenterment. Or for when these relationships fail, in the case of what Jordan is talking about, to turn to them and be like, well, what did you expect? This is really, in the end, on you. This companionship nihilism is a huge pendulum shift that I truly believe is anti-communal, even though it is framing itself to be pro-community. Because if you think it's impossible to build relationships with men that are reparable, what do you think is possible for the future of our relationship with them in general in the culture?
There's a lot of, I see this increase in content that like crucifies women for staying in these like less than ideal relationships with guys who just suck. Shift towards a culture that does encourage women to prioritize themselves and their well-being and not their relationships. I don't think that should come in exchange of shaming people for falling in love.
Mark them well, people. These are the new pick-me's. Her and the other young black lady I'm going to stitch are just out and out telling lies. And it pains me.
Okay.
It pains me to have to say these things about another black woman and to have to take them to task. But the things that you are saying are dangerous. Feminists are not exiling women because they fell in love and there's not some plot against women who want to be in relationships, because most of the women who do this work alongside me are in relationships. They are married. And you don't feel shame and guilt because somebody exiled you and said that you weren't worthy as a woman. You feel that because you betrayed yourself. You did the things that we speak against all the time. You ignored obvious red flags and you continued on a path you knew was doomed to failure. And then when it failed, you said, oh, well, I want succor, I want support, I want love, I want care, I want attention. This is the kind of women who do not come around when they have a man. Oh, they have a man, they're man, they're man, they're man. And when they fall out with him, then they want to come back and absorb all the, friendship and feminism. And so you think I'm not reading too much into it. Look at her tagline. You didn't disappoint feminism because you fell in love. You don't deserve exile and shame because you love hard and tried, or because you love hard and are still trying. Your broken heart still deserves a safe space to rest. You hear that? Ladies, you're a safe space to rest. When she doesn't have her man, she wants to be able to lean on you. And this is what we're tired of. We're tired of women who don't put anything into community, but want to use women as a backup plan when it's convenient. We do not want that. Because the thing is, in this life, you're going to get what you give. I have friends who are always here for me. And one called the other day and said she had a rough patch with her man. It turned out to basically be a 10% a teapot, but I still took that whole Saturday and I comforted and I gave space and I cleaned my house so she could come over, because she's an awesome friend to me. She's always there for me. I'd have taken the whole week off if she needed it. I would have taken her on vacation if she needed it. The reason people aren't showing up for you is because you disappeared when you had a man. And this is the same minimization that men do, and it's really pissing me off. What was my big crime? I fell in love. No, your crime, if you want to call it that, is that you went in eyes wide open, ignoring all the red flags. And I'm sure you asked advice from everybody around you, and they all told you, this is a very bad idea. It's going to end badly. And when you went ahead against their advice and did the thing that you knew was going to end badly, you don't just want support. Now you want resources, even if it's just emotional resources, but I'm sure it's a lot more than that, because you spoke of being pregnant. Now you want the community you didn't pour into to supply the place of the man who is not there, that you chose over everything. And women are tired of being asked to be your backup plan, to be the surrogate father in the name of love that they had no share in. You love this stranger so well that you abandon everybody else. And then when it doesn't work out with him, you expect them to have unconditional love. When do they get love? She fell in love and she's just trying to do her best. Yeah, by a man. When did she do her best by her friends? When did she do her best by her family? Because now she's coming back and asking us to take on all these additional burdens. And that never gets talked about, and it's not fair. But we're straying from the main thesis of what I wanted to discuss, which is this one right here.
What Jordan is discussing about the shame and embarrassment that is imposed on women who actively try to make partnership with men work out, and what Alexia was discussing about how telling single women who are seeking partnership to decenter men is not a comparable placeholder for active partnership, lives to me in the world that I have just called companionship nihilism, which is the belief and framework that intimate, romantic, equitable partnership with men is impossible and thus not worth seeking out. When it inevitably fails, it's ultimately because of their own naivety.
So once again, this is a complete lie. This woman has intentionally misrepresented what decentering men is about to shore up her own shaky point. I was going to be nice, but I don't feel like it, because this kind of thinking is offensive and it's dangerous to the real work that we do to promote women being safe and happy and living their best lives. But let me just start empirically by proving this is a lie. First of all, many of the women who do this work are married or partnered. Mel Hamlet is married, and she talks about her wonderful husband on her channel all the time, as a counterpoint to the abusive relationship she tells you to avoid that she was in before she met this man. Jerice is in a relationship. Texas Fairy is in a relationship. Jessica Valenti is married. These women are not trying to keep you from having a man. They want you to have a good man. But the women who are equitably, happily partnered know the only way to get that way is by decentering men. You tried to obscure what that meant, so let me set the record straight. Decentering men just means you're not making all of your decisions based on what men want or think. That your desires and your goals are now the center of your life. And I think at some point we've all lived that scene from Waiting to Waiting to Exhale, where Savannah asked Robin, when you meet a new man, don't you feel like you're straining not to come across too ditzy or too down, too bubbly or too stoic? We've all tried to play the cool girl. For too long, women have been groomed by society to allow men and getting male attention to be the primary thing in their lives. And no matter what else you accomplish, people's first question is, well, do you have a man? And we're stepping away from that paradigm. That is all. Good relationships are great, but not at the expense of who you are as a person. Secondly, as you can see, these women are in good relationships. So it's clearly been exposed as a lie that the women who talk about decentering men are shaming women for being in relationships. We're speaking out against toxic and relationships. What the original person, Jordan, called shaming women for working on relationships or being in active partnerships with men is often just women justifying mistreatment. And we see it often on this app. That's what she's talking about. Women coming to us with their tales of woe about how their husbands smack puzzles out of their hand or give them gifts that he locked up in iron bars. And we say, this is treatment your partner should not be inflicting on you. And then they go running back to the terrible man and say that we're just jealous because they have somebody. Work in a relationship does not involve overcoming cheating, toxicity, weaponized incompetence, inequity, or disrespect. And you must not follow us because we talk about good relationships all the time as a standard for others to aspire to. But this whole line of argument is just the new wave of pick-me-shas. They're too smart to say that they want a man at any cost or to blame us for teaching women for having self-esteem or standards, even though Jordan did try. So instead, they claim that we're just trying to drive a wedge between men and women. Where have you heard this before? From the men who want you to settle, claiming that we're stoking a gender war.
Be so quick to leave their relationship, not understanding that you're going to get with somebody else and they're going to do something you don't like too. Keep going through that never-ending cycle of going from person to person because you're expecting somebody that's perfect.
That is bull. Everybody knows it. But by intentionally downplaying the very real reasons women are leaving because of a toxicity, this man tries to make it seem like you're never going to find anything better. Instead of men doing the work on their problems, they are rolling out these arguments that make it seem like, oh, well, everybody's got a problem. You're looking for something too much. You want perfection. No, we don't want perfection. We want equality. We want companionship with an actual person who wants to be in a relationship. You just know this kind of man thinks that the trials and tribulations of a relationship include a man cheating on you. And he has dusty energy. But that's all the other side has. They're telling you to settle, that you can't do better, that all men are the same. Actually, decentering men, women, we are more positive towards men. We're saying there are good men, that you don't have to manage like they are children. There are men who want to be active partners with you, who want to treat you well, and you should hold out for one rather than settling and being miserable with a man, baby, you have to do everything for. But now we come to the heart of the matter. Because let's say that there were only two options, even though there are more. Let's say the only options were being with a bad male partner or being alone. These women have already told you they'd rather be with a bad partner. They have said that they can't take being alone. That partnership or companionship is an itch that can't be scratched by any other means. We know that they're going to be left behind because women who are decentering men have already acknowledged they would rather be alone than have a bad partner. And that's the first step to getting a good partner. Because you know you can walk away from bad circumstances that these women are staying in. They would encourage you to do the same because they don't believe in themselves. They don't have the ability to enjoy their own company and sit in silence. And they think they can't do better and that something is better than nothing. They don't have the faith it takes to wait for a good partner. It's really giving, I'm not like other girls, I'd rather be with the boys energy because they already said out of their mouths that their friends aren't enough. They're right about one thing. Our message is not for this kind of woman because she has to have a man at any cost. And if so, she will endanger you to have one. This is the kind of woman who'll tell your secrets to her man. This is the kind who's not going to believe you if something happens or if he makes a pass at you. What's he going to do if he's accused of something by another woman? Because she has to have a man. Finally, the women who decenter men know that their individual good marriages do nothing against the system of patriarchy as a whole. I'm sure there are millions of happily married women in this country, including my own mother. But did it stop men from passing the current laws against abortion and birth control? Being in a good relationship is not the finish line, nor does it absolve you from consciousness, political and social. There's still work to do to protect women as a whole, and that's what you were never interested in. Like and follow for more.
Please go down in the comment section, share your thoughts. I love to know your own take on this. Are you from the point where you say, okay, you know what, it is valid, women in bad relationship or women that have been in bad relationship should not be shamed and all that, or you're in the part where you're like, you know what, these are the women, these are the pick me's and all that. I really want to know your own take on this, what you agree, what you disagree, but please keep it respectful as always. Here on this channel, we're allowed to disagree, but we do it in a respectful way. So please, I know this conversation is a very dicey one, but please let's just keep it really, really respectful down in the comment section, okay? Because here on this channel, we are family and we just have conversation. So yeah, is my own thoughts on this, okay? Because I have a lot to say about this. I disagree with some of the things some of the content creators, the stage state are saying. First off, what's her name? C? I call her C. I agree with most of the things she was saying in our own commentary. That's the last lady. I agree with a lot of the things. I just don't agree with maybe her just assuming that, oh, the other lady, the lady that we're talking about, that, oh, she was this with her friends, she was this and that. We don't know how. We're not in a relationship. We're not in a life. So I just feel like we can't really speak, but we can assume. Okay, but we can't really say that is for fact. Okay, so that's the only thing I don't agree. But let's come and talk about decentering men and all that. Some of you guys don't know. I'll be 40 in 4 months. So in 3 months, May, June, July. In 3 months, I'll be 40, and I'll be married for 10 years. I've been with my husband for 20 years. So literally, we dated for 10 years, married for 10 years, plus August, it will make it 11 years. So we're almost together for 21 years. And I've heard people here in the comment section say, oh, Destiny, you're in a happy marriage, but yet you're telling people not to be in relationship. I've heard people say, oh, why are you deceiving these single girls? Oh, I'm misleading people. But what they don't understand is that I am in a long-term relationship. I am in a society where men are bit centered. And like I've said it a couple of times here, the couple of years, like the couple of 3-4 years now, has been the happiest I've ever been in my life. And that's because I found who I am. My life was not just centered around just my man. And this is where we're trying to tell younger girls, single ladies, to watch out for certain things, and they should not settle for less. Because if you think that you'll be in a relationship or you'll be in a marriage and that will make you the happiest you've been, it will not. Because when people talk about, there are some women that want a relationship, what we are saying is that it doesn't make sense to be in a relationship where you still feel alone, you feel mistreated, you feel like piece of shit, you've been abused, than you being alone by yourself. Like I've said, I'm married, I have a man that cares. But the way I live my life, like my husband know, like I stand on 10 toes on the things I believe in. I don't cover myself. I'm not trying to be what I'm not, or the ideal wife or woman the society expects me to be. I'm living my authentic and genuine life. I'm speaking my truth. I'm telling my story, and I don't care. And the truth is that for the first time in my life, like I said, I'm almost 40, and I'm telling you that the last 3 to 4 years are the happiest I have been in my life. And that's because I started living life on my own terms. I was not, like, the way being with a man is being given to us as women, as young girls. It really needs to be take into study and be talked about. And this is why we're talking about it. And women that are talking about, decentering, that's because we've lived it, we're living it, and we are trying to help the ones coming and even out there to say, you know what, be careful, watch out for things like this, But some people just don't want to listen. Some people want to learn from experience. Like the original creator talking about, how she feels some type of shame and all that. Do I feel like single mothers should be shamed, or people should be shamed? You guys know how I feel. If you're a regular here on this channel, you guys know how I feel about shaming people. I'm not about shaming people. Like, no, people make mistakes. I have made my own share of mistakes. I have made decisions, and those mistakes, those lessons I've learned from life, I'm here to share it and to point it out. And if you cannot relate and you want to learn yourself, go on. But there are still people that are listening. They are picking out, like, you know what, this story make me to be aware of this. Or when they're in that type of situation, they can get it. In my own type of society and in my culture where I was raised, women were put out and positioned in a way where they cannot leave marriages. They cannot live abused relationship. Women glamorize and worship being with a man. The man is the prize. And then you see women go into this relationship and they work tooth and nail to keep to, or just to be in this relationship, and genuinely they are not happy. I have a friend, a very lovely friend. I love her to death. I know she might even watch it today. I love her to death. She's my very good friend. We're friends since we're childhood, and she's still my very good friend to date. I remember when I was deconstructing the entire system of the society, what I want, like really finding myself being in therapy. That was the first time I was in therapy. And I remember when I told her that, I told my close friends that, I'm going to therapy. I need it. I know I need help. And the type of society I live in, a society where this type of things are being mocked, are being laughed at. And I remember she was like, they usually make that fun, like, oh, you don't go, they say you're a crazy doctor. Like, I'm crazy. But talking to her, fast forward to this year, even late last year, and I was talking to her, and she was like, dear girl, now I understand what you've been saying all this while. Now I understand all this question, all this behavior, all this ideology that you've been pushing. I get it. And I'm just like, okay. I was so shocked. Some of the things we were talking about, I'm like, okay, girl. Like, is this coming from me? And because this is where at the point, I knew that the women, even the women I have around me, some of my close friends, still worship the ground men's work on. Men are the prize. They cannot do anything without a man. I have friends that still need to take permission from their men for them to do certain things, for them to even breathe at a time. I talked about a friend where I said a friend goes out, like if a friend is outside our house, our matrimonial home, as from 7 p.m., the husband will lock her out and she will sleep outside. And we're trying to tell the younger generation, we're trying to tell other women that have not made this mistake yet, like, you know what? Focus on yourself, love yourself, because all those things you take from men, all those mistrust and all those bare minimum things you tolerate from men, you do that because you don't love yourself. I love the lady that was talking how she has been in a long-term relationship just like myself, and she was talking how she has not been happy and how she's in therapy, how she found out that she took some certain things in our relationship, in our marriage, because she didn't love herself. A lot of women, we are not even taught to love ourselves, because what they do when they raise us, we're taught to create ourselves, to mold ourselves, to behave in the way that satisfies the need of a man, not living our authentic self. Or I say authentic self. We are told, like in my society, we're told not to even share our story with other women because we should be ashamed of laughing, of being laughed at. We are told, and one thing, oh God, I know I have so much to say. One thing I love about this big conversation is the fact that now we women were sharing our story. We're talking and we're speaking our truth. Some people like myself. And I love the community that we are forming here now on this channel. Like, we're speaking our truth, we're telling our truth, and we are learning from each other. In my culture, in my society, women are not allowed to speak. My mom watched a lot of my videos, and sometimes she'll come out like, that was too much you shared there. You don't know who is watching. And how, like, you know what? I told my mom, I was like, the way you guys moved on is different from what I'm living at. I'm living my authentic self. I'm not going to apologize or mold myself or move in a way people want me to move. I'm going to move in a way that brings me peace, that brings me purpose, that makes me feel like I'm adding value to another life. And that's what I so want to do so bad. So for people saying that, people like myself talking about how to decenter men, teaching the younger generation and even having women to discuss how to decenter men, we literally saying that, you know what, don't be in a relationship with a man. I don't know where you guys are getting that from. What we are saying is that know who you are, because the truth is that when you know who you are, you've done the healing, you've healed your trauma, the way you move is different. The way you move is different. So that's what we're preaching. We're saying that, you know what, go do the healing, do the work, heal that your trauma, love yourself. No, because when you do all that, when you do the work, you heal your trauma, you love yourself, you know who you are, you know what you are, and you know what you need. For some of us, we're in a relationship where we were in those relationships because we thought we need to be with somebody. Some of us, we condone a lot of things in the relationship because we just the prize was just to be with somebody, or just to be in a relationship. I was that girl growing up. That not being in a relationship, you'll be laughed at. Not having a man, you'll be laughed and be mocked. And even to date in my society, people still laugh and mock people, and people settle for the bare minimum just because they just want to have a man. And that's what we're telling the younger ones, that, you know what, there's nothing there. Because when you get in there just to have a man, you will be miserable if you don't know yourself, you've not done the work, and you don't know what you want. You're settling for the bare minimum. But when you've done the work, the way, like I said, the way you move is different, and your standard is different. What you seek and what you demand from a relationship, what you demand from your man is different. My husband would definitely tell you that, yes, I am the same person he got married to, but the way I move now is different. And like, somebody would ask me, like, so how have you been able to keep a relationship this long? Da 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 da. And I've said it a couple of times here on the channel. One of the ways I've been able to keep a relationship, to keep my relationship and my marriage this long, is because there's always divorce on the table. And some people may say, oh, that's been negativity, la 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 la. My husband knows. And that's why I live my life and I move my life and I try to get my bag up. I work hard. I do what I need to do, because he knows my life is not centered around him. I can exist without him. I can live my best life without him. I am with you because I want to be with you, not because I have to be with you. A lot of women are in a relationship that they have to be in, not because they want to be in. And we're not laughing women for falling in love. But what we're saying is that look out for these red signs, learn from people's experience, but if still choose to, like, you know what, do it because you have to, not because you want to. When the result comes, you're going to face it. You're going to dance to that tune. I remember I have a friend that when she wanted to get married, I was like, nothing was sitting right with me. And I was asking her all these questions. I was like, why do you want to do it? Da, 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 da. I was just pointing out some certain things, some certain red flags that was not it. And she ignored it. And when she entered, what did she get out of it? And did I tell her, girl, I told you I want you? I did. But did I also show up and love her? Yes, I did. Because she's an amazing friend. So when we're saying these things, it's not to, when we say decentering, we're not saying eliminate men, like, oh, don't have a relationship. Being in a relationship, having a companion, it's one of the most beautiful things to do. But do it at your own way. Not because you're desperate, not because you want, not because these men, they smell it, they read it, and the way they treat you when they find out that you want it so bad is different from when they know that, you know what, I can leave you if you don't treat me right. I will leave. Like in my own society, yes, guys, this video is long. I don't believe I'm saying this, but in my own society, some people think like, oh, I don't do juju for my husband because the way I move. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end this video here, but please go down in the comment section and share your thoughts. Love to know what you think about this amazing conversation down in the comment section, but please keep it respectful as always. Go on and share this video with somebody that you want to be part of the conversation, because that's what we do here. We have banging conversation. So go on and share this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, smash the like button, because this helps YouTube to push out my content for more people to see, and that'll be you supporting this channel and this girl. Yeah, so go on and share this video. Share this video. Okay, guys, so subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Deuces.